A person depraved, devoid of self-control and truthfulness, is surely not worthy of the monk's yellow robe. A person who is purged of depravity, well established in virtues and filled with self-control and truthfulness, is indeed worthy of the yellow robe.
Those who do not deserve the stained robe, and the virtuous deserve the stained robe. The Story of Devadatta. While residing at the Jetavana monastery in Savatthi, the Buddha spoke these verses with reference to Devadatta. For, on a certain occasion, the two chief disciples, each with a retinue of 500 monks, took leave of the Buddha and went from Jetavana to Rajagaha. The residents of Rajagaha, united in twos and threes, and in larger groups, gave alms in accordance with the customs of giving alms to visitors. One day, Venerable Sariputta said, in making the address of thanksgiving, "Lay brethren, one man himself gives alms, but does not urge another to give. That man receives in future births the blessings of wealth, but not the blessings of a retinue. Another man urges his neighbors to give, but does not himself give. That man receives in future births the blessings of a retinue, but not the blessings of wealth. Another man neither himself gives alms nor urges others to give. In future births, that man receives not so much as a bellyful of sour rice grill, but is forlorn and destitute. Yet another both himself gives alms and urges his neighbors to give. That man, in future births, in 100 states of existence, in 1,000 states of existence, in 100,000 states of existence, receives both the blessings of wealth and the blessing of a retinue. Thus did Venerable Sariputta preach the law." One person invited the Venerable to take a meal with him, saying, "Venerable, accept my hospitality for tomorrow." For the almsgiving, someone handed over a piece of cloth worth 100,000 to the organizers of the almsgiving ceremony. He instructed them to dispose it of and use the proceeds for the ceremony should there be any shortage of funds, or if there were no such shortage, to offer it to any one of the monks they thought fit. It so happened that there was no shortage of anything, and the cloth was to be offered to one of the monks. Since the two chief disciples visited Rajagaha only occasionally, the cloth was offered to Devadatta, who was a permanent resident of Rajagaha. It came about this way. Some said, "Let us give it to the Venerable Sariputta." Others said, "The Venerable Sariputta has a way of coming and going, but Devadatta is our constant companion, both on festival days and on ordinary days, and is ever ready like a water pot. Let us give it to him." After a long discussion, it was decided by a majority of 4 to give the robe to Devadatta. Devadatta cut it in 2, fashioned it, dyed it, put one part on as an undergarment and the other as an upper garment, and wore it as he walked about. When they saw him wearing his new robe, they said, "This robe does not befit Devadatta, but does befit the Venerable Sariputta. Devadatta is going about wearing under and upper garments which do not befit him." The Buddha said, "Monks, this is not the first time Devadatta has worn robes unbecoming to him. In a previous state of existence also, he wore robes which did not befit him." So saying, he related the following. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta ruled at Benares, there dwelt at Benares a certain elephant hunter who made a living by killing elephants. Now, in a certain forest, several thousand elephants found pasture. One day, when they went to the forest, they saw some private Buddhas. From that day, both going and coming, they fell down on their knees before the private Buddha before proceeding on their way. One day, the elephant hunter saw their actions. He thought, "I too ought to get a yellow robe immediately." So he went to a pool used by a certain private Buddha, and while the latter was bathing and his robes lay on the bank, stole his robes. Then he went and sat down on the path by which the elephants came and went. with a spear in his hand and the rope drawn over his head. The elephants saw him, and taking him for a private Buddha, paid obeisance to him and then went their way. The elephant which came last of all, he killed with a thrust of his spear, in taking the tusks and other part which were of value and burying the rest of the dead animal in the ground, he departed. Later on, the future Buddha, who had been reborn as an elephant, became the leader of the elephants and the lord of the herd. At that time also, the elephant hunter was pursuing the same tactics as before. The Buddha observed the decline of his retinue and asked, "Where do these elephants go that this herd has become so small?" "That we do not know, Master." The Buddha thought to himself, "Wherever they go, they must not go without my permission." Then the suspicion entered his mind. The fellow who sits in a certain place with a yellow robe drawn over his head must be causing the trouble. He will bear watching. So the leader of the herd sent the other elephants on ahead, and walking very slowly, brought up the rear himself. When the rest of the elephants had paid obeisance and passed on, the elephant hunter saw the Buddha approach, whereupon he gathered his robe together and drew his spear. The Buddha fixed his attention as he approached and stepped backwards to avoid the spear. "This is the man who killed my elephants," thought the Buddha, and forthwith sprang forwards to seize him. But the elephant hunter jumped behind a tree and crouched down. The Buddha thought, "I will encircle both the hunter and the tree with my trunk, seize the hunter and dash him to the ground." Just at that moment, the hunter removed the yellow robe and allowed the elephant to see it. When the great being saw it, he thought to himself, "If I offend against this man, the reverence which thousands of Buddhas, private Buddhas and Arahats feel towards me will of necessity be lost." Therefore, he kept his patience. Then he asked the hunter, "Was it you that killed all these kinsmen of mine?" "Yes, Master," replied the hunter. "Why did you do so wicked a deed? You have put on robes which become those who are free from the passion, but which are unbecoming to you. In doing such a deed as this, you have committed a grievous sin." So saying, he rebuked him again for the last time. "Unbecoming is the deed you have done," he said. When the Buddha had ended this lesson, he identified the characters in the Jataka as follows. At that time, the elephant hunter was Devadatta, and the noble elephant who rebuked him was I, myself. Monks, this is not the first time Devadatta has worn a robe which was unbecoming to him. This teaching of Buddha Shakyamuni highlights that, regardless of the qualities or qualifications, we respect a monk or a practitioner for what they represent. Monks and practitioners of the Buddha Dharma remind us of the Buddha's body, speech and mind, representing the path of compassion and wisdom, which is a vital support for our progress on the spiritual path. The teaching also highlights that rather than focusing on the signs of excellence on the outside, such as when can we wear certain colored robes, it is more important to develop the inner qualities that the robe represents and is supposed to remind us of.